Christine Nicholson. Welcome to Focus on the Fun Stuff podcast.
Thank you. I'm really hoping that this is going to be fun.
It is definitely going to be fun, and it's going to be packed with value as well, because this is definitely the first episode we've done that is going to focus on actually how to focus on the fun stuff, because everything you talk about is getting yourself to that point, quite literally. Yeah. And via your focus right now in life is helping business owners to exit plan, succession plan.
Yep.
Like actually, I feel like get some light at the end of the tunnel, because a lot of business owners are just, I've started this, I'm in the thick of it. Like, what is the end point?
Yes,
for some of them.
And once you get started, you kind of can feel like you're on that hamster wheel.
Yeah.
And so when you think about right at the very beginning, like you're really excited, you've got loads of energy. Your first job, get your first customer.
Yeah.
Your second job, get your first customer to pay you.
Yeah.
And then it's like, get the second customer. And then before you know it, you've blinked. And maybe 5-10 years have gone past, and you've grown your business, you've started to employ people. And now you might be thinking, hold on a minute, isn't employing people supposed to make my life easier? But actually what it's doing is it's kind of making this business like feel really heavy. I mean, some days will be better than others.
Yeah, totally.
And then it's like, I haven't really thought about my escape plan. And there might not be one that's really obvious, or there might be one that's not particularly unpalatable. So if you think about, I started my business typically because I wanted to do something different, or I wanted to make a difference in an industry that I already knew. I knew that, you have this idea that what's gone on before, I'm going to knock off all the bad bits and I'm going to bring some new practice.
Yeah.
But then you find yourself in this kind of loop of, I'm not doing all the things for me that I wanted to do. I was so busy being different or adding new value that I forgot what was in it for me. And
that's not a selfish thing, is it?
No, I know. And it's, the number of people who I meet where they go, oh, I don't want to be greedy. I'm like, you've put all the risk.
Yeah.
You've done all the sweat. You've done the stress. You've done the sacrifice. This isn't about greed. Yeah. And if you're going to get greedy about something, get greedy about, or get selfish about looking after yourself, setting the boundaries. It's one of the things Daniel Priestley talks about, which is, you go into business thinking, I'm going to do a bit of sweat and I'm going to do a bit of sacrifice, and then I'm going to get this time freedom and I'm going to get this financial freedom. And actually you find out you've kind of given up both. And that is the big tragedy, particularly in SMEs.
Yeah.
Because you start employing people, you don't know how to let go so that you can really empower your people. And so it ends up all on you.
Yeah, totally. It's very difficult, isn't it? I mean, I say to my team all the time, because my team support business owners, and I often say to them, honestly, guys, nearly all of us, we are figuring it out as we go along. And I think, isn't it? And even though you're looking after business owners, just know that they're human as well. And we're all kind of like, what's next? What do I learn next? What do I have to pick up? Because there is no manual, isn't it? And I think when they get so stuck in the weeds, I think lots of business owners will also think, well, what is an exit's not possible for me. Who's going to want to buy this or do, you get so jaded.
And it's either that or, who will buy this, or my business is unsaleable. And what the hell am I going to do? Or, oh no, my business is completely sellable, really easy. I just have to decide to do it and I'm going to get £30 million. So it's like the two ends of the spectrum. I'd be very remiss in saying I am a customer of yours. And the thing that's always impressed me has been, I know it's easy to think that I'm doing a promo for you because I'm on this podcast, but the really big thing that I've always taken away from your staff is that, one, I felt understood, I felt listened to. And big shout out to Ronnie and Dan, because both of them have said, how can we help you get more out of this service?
Oh, wow, amazing.
And
Thank
it's
you.
For me, it's like, oh my God, somebody who actually understands that. Sometimes I can feel like literally, even though I do what I do, I can sometimes have those days where I feel like my hair's on fire.
Totally.
And
I mean, I totally feel that, Christian. I preach, focus on the fun stuff, leverage your time, delegate. Yeah. Do I have days where I'm like, wow, I'm doing this all wrong, and I'm also completely in the middle? Yeah. Totally, we all do, don't we?
And it's really easy to backslide. You have really good intentions. It's really easy to backslide. It's one of the things I said to you before, which was, it's really easy to say, yeah, I don't work Fridays. But I encourage my clients to start getting those boundaries. But if you wake up on a Friday morning and the first thing you do is even glance at your email, you're working on a Friday. So don't kid yourself. And actually being that self-aware as a business owner is literally the first stage to starting to think, okay, these are all the things that are really essential for me to create a business that's got high value, that doesn't need me, and will actually be easier to sell. And it all starts with you taking one step back. And part of exit planning, being really selfish, starting to think about, how would this survive if I wasn't around? If I got hit by a bus tomorrow, who'd pay my employees? Because most small and medium business owners, they're the only ones who signed a bank account. What will happen to my customers? What will happen to my suppliers? So actually, exit planning isn't really being selfish.
No.
It's actually really looking after everybody. And at the moment, you're not looking after everybody. You think you are, but you're not actually doing it.
Yeah, I love that reframe of it, because we all wear like the superhero cape, don't we? If I can do it all, but actually, well, you can do it all. Doesn't mean you should do it all, and literally also, like you say, God forbid, but there probably will come a point where one of those things you're doing has to be or needs to be done by somebody else if you can't.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't have to go into it now, but just beforehand, when we talked about so many things just before we started the podcast, but you just mentioned that when you were saying about Don't Stop Fridays, that you work. So your commitment to yourself is that you work only 9 days a month?
Oh,
is
yes, that right? Yes. It's a promise I make to myself, and I renew that promise. It's almost like renewing your wedding vows. I literally renew it at the end of every month when I look at how many days did I work last month. So I have this real intention, because if I'm working on average between 20 and 22 days a month now, then I that leaks then into more days. So if I'm working Monday to Friday, I kid myself that I start at 10 o'clock. I don't. But even with the intention of starting at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden the overrun, the anything that leaks into the weekend. So my first promise was, like, my target was 9 days a month. The fact is I achieve 9 days a month now, but my target was 9 days a month. And it took me 5 years of focused work to actually get there.
Wow.
Because I kept on thinking, I'll just do that one thing, I'll just do that quick call. I'll just do that quick check of an email.
Yeah.
On one of the non-working days, because it's marked in my diary, I am not working today. And then I realised that these are really false boundaries, because if I was in hospital or, God forbid, deceased, I won't be able to do any of those things. So now a non-working day is as if I died.
Right. That's great.
I'm going to rise from the dead tomorrow, and then because tomorrow is a working day tomorrow. But because I've set these really defined boundaries, and I'm now really strict with myself, because the hardest thing wasn't setting the boundaries. The hardest thing was actually delivering according to the boundaries. Because I've set these really hard boundaries right now, not only can I set the expectation for my customers and my staff, but equally, I can be really disciplined. And those 9 days, don't get me wrong, I put in a fully productive 9 days. But I get so much more done because I know that I can't allow these things to leak into other days. And it's not that I completely fill my other days up with, rammed full of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But it does give me the complete freedom to not have to think about. So like tomorrow, I'm house hunting. So I have a whole day tomorrow. My phone will be off. And I'm not expecting anybody to call me. And for what I do, nobody's going to die.
No.
So I literally am, and it's completely guilt-free because I will not switch my phone back on until Monday.
That's
and
awesome.
that's really liberating.
Yeah. I really love that phrase as well of letting it leak into, because I mean, I feel that, and I know that happens to me as well, where maybe I've had a full-on week and my newsletter, I'll write it on a Saturday because that's fine, but it's still things that I let leak into, I'll just do it after the gym on a Sunday, or, do you know, it's so easy to, and, you know, things fit to the time you allow it, doesn't it? Yep. So you know, like on your 9 days, and you were saying before as well, just that they are absolutely super productive, full on. Like, is there anything any key things that you would like suggest how you make them like that? Is it how you plan in the time? Is it no distractions?
Oh yeah. So one of the key things is that no distractions. So the best thing I ever did was, first of all, I have my PA to answer my phone. And I don't use the phone very often, so I'm actually quite a low volume user. But it's great to know someone else is going to pick it up.
Happen.
Like, I don't have that fear of missing out.
Yeah.
Which is, again, it means that I can actually put my phone down. And sometimes I actually lose it for days. And I don't take it on holiday with me either. So
really?
Literally, I went to the South Atlantic, Antarctic and Patagonia this time last year. And I left my phone in Santiago. Wow. So I didn't have it at all for 19 days of camping.
Gosh.
It's grams. I was
extra grams to carry.
Yeah. It's like iPhone or chocolate bar. It's a toughie, but the chocolate bar wins. So there are whole days where I just don't even have access to my phone. I mean, the sad thing is I could be dead at home for like 3 or 4 days before anybody would actually find my rotting corpse. But ho hum, I'd be dead. I wouldn't be worrying about it. But yeah, so it's getting back to less drama. It is really about setting those boundaries. So first of all, I've got the boundaries. I have a very clear idea of what a productive day is, what I need to get done. And one of the most interesting books I ever read, and there's about 5 or 6 books that I highly recommend to people, and the 80-20 rule is one of them, because it's 80% of everything you achieve is achieved in the first 20% of the effort. Mm-hmm. So I allocate time to do stuff. So I do a weekly newsletter. I actually do them a month at a time because then they've got a theme. You know, I'm thinking in that stream.
Yeah, you're in that creative space of doing it all. Yeah,
absolutely. So I allow myself an hour to do the theme.
Nice.
And actually, my alarm goes off at 35 minutes, and it's like, okay, you've had 35 minutes of thinking and faffing around. You've now got 25 minutes or 20 minutes to physically write the damn thing.
Wow.
And I'm really lucky that I'm a writer by trade anyway, so I write really quickly. And of course, now with all these audio tools where you can just...
so many things to help, isn't there? Yeah.
Push a button and it's like, I'm just going to talk to you, and then I want you to edit all the ums and the ers and the faff out.
Yeah.
And it just works really well because you still get the same conversational style. Mm-hmm. And actually, those newsletters tend to be more engaging than the ones where I used to spend hours
perfecting.
Yeah, and actually making sure all the grammar was right and everything. Do you know, not one person has ever contacted me and said, there's a typo in your newsletter. And there's always typos in my newsletters.
Yeah.
So
prolific beats perfect.
But it's, absolutely. Dan Priestley again. Yeah. He really is a gift. I mean, you and I both did one of his programs, and I would highly recommend it. So
And so then on those 9 days of the month, do you address every hour in the same way? Like, I know what I'm doing for this hour. I'm very intentional about it, and I'm getting it done.
Yes. And that includes spending time with my clients. So typically when I'm talking to clients, they've paid me for a particular service. They're not paying me to waste their time. It would be really easy to extend the sessions and get into, did you have a nice week last week? And, how's the wife and kids? And you're not paying me as much as you pay me for chit chat. You can get that with your friends. I can't say, like, you've got to try and be as productive and set these boundaries if then we're going to spend 15 minutes talking about the football. So even my clients are like, okay, we're straight into it. And it's like, this session will be about this unless something's changed since the last time we've spoken. So what, for this session to be a success, what do you think we need to get through? And usually they're heavily guided by me because I'm quite bossy. But then
with good intentions, yes. You want them to get the result.
Action orientated, yeah. And it's like usually, most of my clients are men. Most of them have got an engineering background or an inventive background.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So, and even the lady clients that I've had in the past, they've been very action orientated. So people who won't make decisions, who procrastinate a lot, and they go, oh, but if I do that, it might make me a bit unpopular. Not my clients.
Yeah. Good that you know exactly who your client is.
It's really easy. Well, I spoke to you earlier and I said, I can generally decide if a client's going to be good. When I'm going to be good for a client and they're going to be good for me in 6 minutes. Yeah. And it literally boils down to, have you got a need that I can help you with and are you willing to take action? Now. Mm-hmm. And if you satisfy those things, then probably we'll work really well together. Yeah. Because most people come to me going, oh my God, I want to get out of my business in the next 12 months. Well, a sale process on itself, if you are ready today, the sale process takes 12 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. If not longer. And I've definitely worked in businesses that have taken longer, particularly if they're in a regulated environment, if it's an international. There are lots of factors. There's so many moving parts. But getting ready can take between 1 and 3 years. I mean, the fastest I've done it is working with someone for 6 months and then going through a sale process that actually only took 3 months. Right. But that is a unicorn. That is so rare. But typically, from the day you decide you're going to market to actually selling, it's a minimum of 12 months. And it's like a marathon as well. So people think it's going to be a quick sprint. It's going to be quick, it's going to be easy, it's going to be painless. But I just say this, and it's going to make me sound like a real doom merchant. and it contrasts with the fact that I'm smiling. But it's long, it's arduous, it's emotional. It's likely to fail. Like it's more likely to fail than it is to succeed, particularly if you haven't done any of the preparation work.
I was going to say, is that also why it generally takes so long? Because most business owners haven't prepped to sell. Yep. Like they haven't thought that through of what's key, what's wanted, what's needed. Yeah.
Well, I am. If anybody who knows me will always go, Christine's talking in threes again, as if it was some interior designer. But there are really 3 factors that make a sale fail. Right. Business owner dependence. Okay. Because they can't see Makes how the sense. Business owner, how the business can run without you. Lack of due diligence preparation, because then the due diligence process takes a long time, and the seller is paying experts to dig into your due diligence. Right. And if they see that those fees are going to stretch on and on and on and on, then it becomes very expensive, and then they can't see how they can get a return on their investment. Right. And the annoying thing is, for a seller, due diligence preparation, it's really bloody easy. Really? And it saves you a fortune if you do it. So I always say that if you work with me in preparation for doing your due diligence, I will cut your legal fees down by at least 10%, typically 25%. Wow. And it's legal fees are one of the biggest expenses. Right. So you've got owner reliance and due diligence preparation. And then the final thing is actually not preparing your financial reports properly. So, and a lot of people often look at me kind of a bit blankly going, oh, well, I do monthly management accounts.
That's what I was going to say to you.
Well, you might think you do, right? But you probably don't from the perspective of a buyer. Interesting. And a buyer is looking at not just what you present today, but they're looking at how many times did you set a target in the past and achieve it. Wow. Because if you think that in your presentation for your business to be sold, you're going to do financial forecasts. Well, if you don't prepare those forecasts properly, and they're going to say, so let's say you're a 5 million turnover business and you're forecasting that next year, once you've sold, you're going to do 7.5 million. Okay, so, which is a nice piece of growth. But if your past is, well, I said I was going to do 4 million last year, but I did 2.5. And then the year before I said I was going to do 3 million and I barely scraped 1. Then what you're doing is you're showing the buyer, who is looking at this history, because that's what due diligence is about, and you're saying, okay, so you're telling me you're going to do 7.5, which means you're probably going to do about 3.5. So I'm going to value the business based on that.
Wow.
So buyers are typically quite sophisticated.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sellers are typically not sophisticated. And because they typically only sell one business, it's their own. They think of it as their little baby.
Yeah.
Like, if I could just give everybody one piece of advice, like, your business is not your baby. Like, just honestly, write it on a Post-it, stick it on the bathroom mirror. Just remind yourself every day, it's a legal entity. Get emotionally detached and start thinking about it as ROI. So,
and I feel like I've been through that process in the past 18 months, but why is it so important, do you think, that piece of advice to business owners?
Because when you come to sell your business, if your business is your baby, you're emotionally attached, and therefore every piece of due diligence questioning is going to be taken as a personal affront. It's going to be seen as a personal attack on the way you do things or the way you see things, which is going to be an emotional burden. It's going to cause you more stress. But the main reason is when you start looking at your business as a return on investment, it actually gets you into the mindset for, hold on a minute, why am I working 80 hours a week? Why is it I pay all my staff and I get paid with what's left over? And it starts changing that whole thinking process. And so when you start looking at your business as if you were a buyer or an investor, like you would with the shares that you've invested that are in your pension scheme, for example, or your ISA or whatever, then all of a sudden you kind of view your business very differently, and it helps you take that mindset shift. And I'd love to say that, just saying this makes it so, but I've been there myself. Started my first business having sold more than 40 businesses for someone else. So I knew the whole emotional detachment thing. Did it stop me getting emotionally attached to the first, what I call grown-up business? Yeah, it was. I was very good at talking the talk. The minute I got into it, it was like walking the walk was straight out the window. Until one day I realised that I was turning myself literally into a zombie. And I just thought, actually, do you know what? There's got to be more to life than this.
Yeah.
And it was I had a proper wake-up call where a confluence of things happened that just made me completely rethink, oh my God, I am doing exactly what I have practiced in someone else's business, or I've shown them how to not practice in someone else's business. So I realised that I'd become the biggest hypocrite.
Understand. And also that the baby piece is really important. But also, just to clarify, it's not about not caring about your business, is it? Or it's not about like wanting it to be outstanding, be world class, do all the things.
But actually, it's quite the opposite. Because if you've got an emotional attachment to your business, then it becomes more about your ego.
Yes, totally.
And you're not treating yourself as an equal partner in the relationship. The business becomes a bully. It becomes something that drives you. If you think about, actually, I wasn't going to get that personal, but why don't I? In all the businesses that I've founded, grown and sold, I have done so at the expense of every one of my personal relationships.
Really?
I've done it at the cost of my health. I've done it at the cost of my wealth. Because I've built up huge wealth, and then I've ended up being completely burned out, unable to work. I have had 4 what I romantically call gap years. None of them have anything to do between the gap between some form of education and work. It's always been so burnt out from work. When I've sold a business, I've had to take a year off
just to get back.
And trust me, those gap years have not been fun. And what I want for business owners out there is 2 things. Have some fun now. You never know when life is going to throw you a curveball. And the second thing is that make sure that you're prepared for fun by practicing a bit of fun now, when you actually sell your business, because most business owners have their identity so tied up in their business that when they sell it, they become... there's a grieving process.
Yes, yeah.
One of the best stories I ever heard was Jo Farley from Green and Blacks.
Okay.
And she was telling her story on the stage, and Jo Farley basically gave up a role in PR and journalism, found this amazing chocolate product and bought it to the UK. And then Green and Blacks was born. And then she went through all the stress, sweat, sacrifice. And then finally, she sold it to Cadbury's. When she actually started off, it was always Green and Blacks versus Cadbury's because she was going to do fair trade. But actually what she did was she changed the industry. But she sold 30 million. And then she went, for the first 7 nights, she went to bed and cried. It's like, oh my God, I've sold my baby. And her husband let her get on with it for 7 days. And then he went, for goodness sake, Jo, like, just go and get the business back and give them back the 30 million. And she stopped crying because then she suddenly realised that actually she'd sold the business. She'd got the money in the bank, which meant she could go, and she now had the financial freedom, the location freedom and the time freedom to go and do all the things that she was really passionate about. Yeah, absolutely. And Cadbury's had retained her as an ambassador around fair trade. So she was able to actually change the whole industry from the inside. Yeah. So, but she'd kind of forgotten why she, during the whole sale process, she'd kind of forgotten why she was in it in the first place. Whereas, looking back on it, she'd got 30 million big ones in the bank. Yeah, I'd take that. So
yeah, totally. And thanks for being so honest as well about your own journey as well, because I guess it's also from that very hard lessons that have now taken you to where you are now, helping business owners to not repeat the same mistakes and have a life that they love.
So my original journey really started out when I was young. An uncle of mine, actually, he took a bravery pill, set up his first business. He was really good at delivering great product. He wasn't really good at pricing it. And before you knew it, within 3 or 4 years, I think it had gone into liquidation. And he was never the same, he was kind of this mountain of a man who was slightly less when he'd had the business experience. And then roll forward a few years, I get my first job as a qualified accountant. I'm basically spending the next 4.5 years selling over 40 different companies in every way you can imagine of exiting. I'm thinking, so this is what it's supposed to be all about. And I went off and I set up another couple of companies. And then I got approached by someone to say, can you help me get my business ready for sale or investment? And I worked for this guy called Trevor who'd invented something in his garage. And then it blinked and 20 years had gone by and now he's in these purpose-built facilities and he's selling worldwide and, he's still in there. He's still in the workshops showing people how to make tooling and all that kind of stuff. But within a week of me working with him, he was up a ladder at a weekend cleaning his gutters, of all things. And the ladder slipped, he fell off and he died. Well, we hadn't even started.
Oh my God, I wasn't expecting that to be the end of the story. I thought you were going to say he's injured himself and he had to speed up exiting.
No.
I mean,
he did do that. He speeded up his exit within 7 days.
Sorry for laughing. I didn't mean to be laughing at that, but just the story was a shock. Wow.
Poor old Trevor then left behind a business that entirely relied on him.
He
literally signed the bank account. He made every decision, even though it was he had over 100 employees.
Wow.
10 million turnover company. And, but nobody would make any decision. No, nobody else could make any decisions.
Oh my goodness.
And within just less than 18 months, his business was actually insolvent. So they ended up selling, they didn't sell the business, they sold the intellectual property and some of the assets, etc. But it was a real tragedy because one, he was lovely.
Yeah.
He'd really thought about looking after his employees, his customers, his suppliers, their customers. He was thinking about his entire ecosystem and he just left it too late. And sadly, what happened to Trevor... tie ladders on, by the way. That's just my second big tip. But the big mistake he'd made was actually not doing it in time. And more than 50% of business owners will have some kind of crisis.
Yeah.
That will affect their business. So then the big ones are, well, obviously death from Trevor's perspective, disease, not necessarily yourself. So one of the biggest challenges one of my clients had was when their wife was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And it's like, the business can go to hell in a handbasket because she is the singularly most important thing.
Of course.
And of course, that then exposes all the cracks. So it's death, disease, disability. Disability is an interesting one, because I found this shocked statistic. Only 5% of all disabled people are born with their disability. So 95% of the population have an acquired disability.
Wow.
That's a real shocker, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you think of yourself as a business owner, it literally 95 out of 100 business owners are going to acquire a disability, which may affect their ability to run their business.
My God.
So actually, I always talk about getting exit ready isn't for when you think about selling. It's about the here and now.
You never know what happens.
Yeah. Because it has multiple benefits. Exit ready businesses are more profitable. They find it easier to retain staff. It's a lot less stressful. It's a nicer place to be for everyone. It's securing the employment for your employees. It's securing ongoing supply for your customers. It's securing the ongoing supply for your suppliers.
Yeah.
It's providing the ecosystem within your community. If your business isn't there and your staff go to the pub on Thursdays, either during lunchtime or that's a whole load of revenue that pub ain't going to get if your business isn't there. So business has this real trickle down in the economy. And if you're suddenly not able to work in your business for whatever reason, then all of a sudden your business is not only worthless, but is likely to be insolvent within 12 months.
My gosh. And of course people think, well, it's not going to be me, don't they? And you just never know. And so you speak to so many business owners who must be completely stuck in the weeds. And ultimately, like the process you take people through, I mean, it leads to a better business, doesn't it? Because it's just by the very... One of the key points of it is you cannot be in the middle of it anymore. So the impact of it is also, I'm sure, massive on the actual sale value and everything that comes with it. So you have I know I said it was a longer step, but you have a 5-step plan that you take business owners through.
So the whole exit plan is only 5 stages. And it takes you right the way through from where are you now, what value have you, how saleable is your business right now? Because actually knowing those things makes it easier to market your business when you do come to sell it. And then it's like step 2 is really like, let's take a moment of, people call it selfishness, or business owners who say to me, well, I don't want to be greedy. This is not about being greedy. This is about you deciding what a good exit looks like for you. And most business owners think they've only got 1 or 2 options. There are hundreds of options.
Right.
So let's design the exit that is right for you, including the time frame, which also builds in the contingency of if something happens. So now we've got really focused on you as the business owner. And most business owners will say to me, oh, God, but Christine, I'm already working more than so many hours. Like, the favourite thing is, I'm already working more than 60 hours. And like the number of times I've done payroll on a Sunday night because it has to be done. One of the things that selfishness exercise is, like, what does that exit look like for you? Will actually lead us to how do you get your team involved in doing the work,
right?
Which immediately will reduce your hours and guarantee it, reduce your hours by at least 25%, typically by 25 hours. And most of my clients are literally out of the weeds in less than 90 days.
Oh, wow.
So
that feels like a quick turnaround.
Yeah, but it comes back to what's my ideal client. It's somebody who actually is able to make decisions, who will actually get action done, and they'll do it now because they're driven to it. So when you think like literally in 3 months, so you think we're in March now, so April, May, June. So by the end of June, you could be in a position with your business where you could go on a whole summer break, entire school holidays, without looking at your email, without phoning in, without being in the office, and without your kids and your spouse rolling their eyes going, oh, working again, and we're supposed to be on holiday. God, how good would that feel?
My God, there's definitely people listening to this now going, but my business is different.
Yeah,
you must get that a lot. But no, it's not possible for me. That
but it's not. I mean, the myth that my business is different. No, the only thing that's different is you. As a business owner, the only thing that's different is you, and it's the way you think about your business. And the first thing that's got to change is the 7 inches between your ears, because the minute you realise that actually letting go is better for you and it's better for everyone else in a framework. So I'm not going, So the favourite thing that business owners actually do is they go, right, okay, I'm out of here. And then they go, like, here's all my stuff. And I'm just going to hand it over to someone else. You go, there you go. Job's all yours now. Just get on with it. And then you go, oh, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, I definitely would have made that blue, not pink. And then it's like this kind of eating away, like micromanagement.
Yeah.
You don't think you're doing it as a business owner.
Yeah.
But you so are. And if you can stand outside yourself and have a schizophrenic moment and watch someone else doing it, it's really easy to see that behaviour. And most business owners kind of lack that self-awareness, because this is going to sound a bit sexist. And I'm not going to make any apologies for it. But when I was married, I used to drive home and I'd have these conversations in my head with my husband so that I'd get my story straight. You know, it's like, I want to do something. I know you don't want to do it, but how am I going to persuade you that this is the right thing?
Okay.
So I'd be driving home and I'd have those conversations, because by the time I've got home, I've had the conversation
already. Yeah.
It's like, it's not my fault if you can't read my mind. Isn't that the job of a husband? Now, although I just said it was very sexist, I'm sure it probably works the other way around.
Yeah.
But in my experience, it tends to be more of a female thing. But actually, as a business owner, we're all guilty of doing that as well.
Oh my God, that is so true. It's just, it's like delegation. It's just like abdication of the work without actually delegating it properly. You're just going with no responsibility anymore for it, which is stupid, obviously.
Yeah. And so the key thing is actually having a decision-making framework to actually let go an inch at a time. An inch is a cinch, a mile is a trial. So not doing that whole thing of dumping something on someone else's desk, but actually just taking the time over and it can be a really short period. And I always say with exit planning, right at the very beginning, you're going to travel a millimetre and you're going to think, God, this is going to take forever. Mm-hmm. And then you travel a centimetre and you're still thinking, flipping hell, can't this speed up? And then before you know it, you've travelled a metre. And then next minute, you're travelling at kilometres. But it's a slow start.
Oh, I love that.
To speed it up.
Yeah, to get quicker at it.
Yeah, it's like couch to 5K or marathon training.
Yeah.
You don't get up off the couch 5 stone overweight thinking, going to run a marathon today.
Yeah.
Well, you don't do it and then do it without injury. So
yeah. And it feels hard for a very long time, doesn't it? And then all of a sudden you think, oh, actually, I'm getting a lot better at this.
Yeah. So it is just practice.
Yeah, totally. And so I know you said like you had this 5 stages in the plan, but would you say ultimately, without this reframing of mindset, like the rest of it is kind of like that's the key thing to lead to everything else?
Oh, yeah. And I've had clients come to me where they've gone, oh, I can't wait to get started and I really want to get done. And then within the first month, it becomes really obvious. They're just not ready because they haven't changed the way that they're thinking about it and they're not willing to make changes. And I'm genuinely amazed at business owners who accept extraordinary levels of mediocrity
in their business.
Yeah, because they are, they might have started their business and their first couple of employees might have been people that they know, friends, or possibly family. But the business has outgrown those people. But the business owner themselves, not only are they emotionally attached to their business, but they're also attached to some of their people in a way where it's business, it's not personal. But they've made it personal. And therefore they will not fire someone who is not, it's not serving the employee.
Yes.
It's not serving the business. And actually it's creating this proper, it's like dragging something really heavy. It's like trying to sail a boat with the anchor down.
Yes.
And it's such a drag. And eventually something breaks. And it's always the business owner. Literally, it's always the business owner. And it's the same with the sale process. I always say, like, if you're in the day-to-day of your business, running a business, you've typically got a full-time job, even though you would probably rather amputate your right arm before you admit to having a job. Because most business owners do not have employment contracts. It's a bit like, when kids go, oh, I can't see you, so therefore you can't see me.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent. It's like, just because you haven't got an employment contract doesn't mean to say you haven't got a job. So they've typically got a job. The problem is selling a business is a full-time job. So now you've got 2 full-time jobs. So 3 things are going to break, magic 3. The business that you're in the day job in is going to start diminishing, because if you're the one making all the decisions, all of a sudden the business isn't getting the attention because you've got this full-time job over here of selling it. So all those forecasts for the buyers that you said you were going to hit your 7.5 million, now you're barely going to hit what you did last year, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Then you've got a full-time job over here of selling the business, and that's not getting you full focus because the performance over here is starting to dip and people are wondering what the hell's going on. And you might even have a few key staff who go, actually, do you know what? I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Because I can't see how this is ever going to get any better. And that leaves you 2 full-time jobs and a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
And it's so unnecessary. It literally, when people say to me, I haven't got enough time for exit planning, it's 15 minutes a day. And it's 15 minutes a day of you getting other people to do the work. And most people don't actually get that that's what should be happening. But if you're trapped in your head of the I've got to do this all myself, then it is all on you.
Yeah.
And, none of us are bionic or superhuman.
No. And by that 15 minutes a day, do you literally mean spending 15 minutes a day to go, right, these things now person B is doing, like spending 15 minutes every day to get something off the list? Wow.
Seriously, I've had business owners where if they've got the right team in place, or they've got the right people, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the people are in the right place, because sometimes that takes a bit of time. But if they've got the right people, they've got the right support, but most importantly, they've got the right mindset, then they can get exit ready in less than 12 months, in less than 15 minutes a day.
Wow.
If you think in the first 90 days, they're going to be out of a full-time job. So I've taken someone from doing 65 to 70 hours a week to doing 15 hours a week on the strategic stuff. Now, I don't know about you, but 65 less 15 means 50 hours of fun stuff. It's like engaging with your family, not being on your phone, no more eye rolling, actually being there for your kids. I'm sure most business owners have a toy of some kind or a hobby. So a number of my clients who have expensive motorbikes or windsurfers or boats or cars or mountain bikes is another big one.
Yeah.
In their garage, that they spend more time cleaning and tweaking and servicing than they ever get the chance to use. But now you've got 50 hours and no excuses.
Oh my God.
In fact, if you're doing the fun stuff, you can't micromanage, because to do the fun stuff, you've got to be present for most of those things.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? So, but I know it's not for everybody. Some people really want to work loads of hours because it feeds their worthiness to say, I work more hours than anyone else. And if that's you, that's absolutely fine.
But there will also be so many people listening to this nodding, going, no, I am working all the hours. I don't want to be. I don't see a way out. But this podcast episode has definitely given so much of a strategy and so much mindset work to think about, because that is definitely key, isn't it? Definitely key. Yeah. I can't believe it, Christine, but we've come to the end of our time together. And I know you've got lots of great assets. You've written a book. Well, I know you've written a lot of books, but recently your one is How to Sell.
Yeah, so how to successfully sell your business. And it is about the sale process, but equally it's the how to get the best out of the sale process. So you'll read things in there that will be they'll mention words that you'll think, oh God, I've heard that word before, but I don't actually know what it means. So I completely demystify the whole sale process thing. So it's literally written. So my first book was 5-Minute Finance, which was demystifying the finance language so that you can have a better relationship with your accountant. And How to Successfully Sell Your Business demystifies the M&A end of it. So, yeah.
And so the book, and if people want to find you, because I know you've also got a resource, haven't you, of how saleable your business is on there as well. How should people find you?
So either through my website, which is christinenicholson.co.uk, or actually you can just go to getexitready.co.uk. It goes straight to a quiz, which gives you 5 key points on how exit ready you are. And if you score anything less than 80%, your business is pretty unsaleable. So, but it does give you some key action points straight away, and that's completely free. So,
awesome.
So you get the little report. It actually tells you what to do. It sends you a link to my book as well. So, yeah.
Oh, fantastic! Anybody listening to this needs to go and do it.
If I can just say, to people, if they just want one thing to take away, a practical thing that you can do, and it's, my paid clients get this, but the one thing I would always recommend to people doing is literally look at what you spend your time doing. So my 9 days are really productive because I'm very mindful of exactly, nothing gets in there that is distracting me from that's not work. So actually have a look at how you're spending your time and what you're doing, because that hour of scrolling on Facebook is not serving you. But you've got to be honest with the fact that that's what you might be doing. And if you're waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning and the first thing you're doing is actually checking your email, that's when you start work, not the 9 o'clock when you walk in the office door. So actually looking at what the reality of your working day is, topping and bottoming it. Because if the last thing you do at night is check your email at 10:30, that's when your workday finishes.
Yeah.
And actually recognising the things that you're doing in your day and how productive and valuable those things are. And just by doing that will create an awareness of what your involvement in your business is. And most people will be genuinely surprised at what they're doing.
I love that. I'm going to do it myself as well, to be fair. Honestly, there's so much I'm thinking of, no, I need to do that. Christine, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for being on the episode today.
Thanks for letting me get on my soapbox. It's my favourite thing.